I was in the car with my nephew talking, and we put on, I can't even remember what it was. And he goes, 6 minutes, that's a long song. And I said, well, what do you think? You know, you've got some Pink Floyd stuff. He's 13. You've got some Pink Floyd stuff, and there's stuff on there that's 15 minutes. He goes, yeah, I know. I said, why do you think they do that? And he goes, I think they just don't know when to end. And that was his take, you know. I thought it was hilarious.
They just got lost, and then finally, in sheer will, they found an end to it somehow.
So the electric meter just ran out, you know. We could put instruments down now. It's just funny. It's a modern take. It's obviously TikTok generation, you know.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, that's the first thing I thought of when you said that. That instant gratification generation.
It's showtime, folks.
Hello, everyone out there and into the music world. I'm Andy, that's John, and you know the drill. We are here to dig into some music, and I believe John has got a tune for me. John, what say you? You got something for me, buddy?
Oh, yes, indeedy.
And that would be?
I've got a little ditty for you. Have you heard of the band Delakota?
No.
I may be pronouncing it wrong because I realized just before this, I've never heard anyone say their name out loud. So it could be Delakota, it could be Delakota, it could be Delakota, Delakota. Okay, cool. So the song is called The Rock, and that is definitely pronounced The Rock.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing
Less
to do with
for error there, right?
yeah, and nothing to do with Dwayne Johnson.
I've really been waiting for someone to put out an ode to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. All right, that's an interesting name. It reminds me of like the Lakota tribe, which is like one of the Native American groups that lived in obviously what is obviously now like the Dakota area and even beyond that. But interesting. I will give it a listen, and I'll probably have hella questions upon my return. But I'm going to go give it a listen now. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
For a more beautiful evening to you.
Oh my God, that guitar just sounded so beautiful right there. I can already tell this is going to, at the very least, be interesting because I'm super intrigued as to where this goes 50 seconds in and 6 minutes and 23 seconds of total song. So, onward.
Saturates my
slightest change, but oh my goodness, what an extra level of richness it added to the sound quality, almost like the song took a breath. Yeah, this is so chill and relaxed, and I'm loving it. Every time it feels like it's about to like go into something slightly more manic than its current state, it pulls it back in, and I'm enjoying that. Typically, I would want it to go somewhere like but for some reason with this and that melodic guitar through line, it's just fun how it flirts with the idea of it, but not doing it. And we'll see if that maintains through the rest of the tune. Yeah, that was an absolute pleasure. It's so conducive with like a calming mood. Um, and I think that that's why it was such a joy to listen to. I'd be interested to learn more about these guys and kind of the song in particular. I was in and out of the lyrics, so maybe John can help with that. But yeah, this was really cool. Good on you, John. So I'm back, and I love that damn song. That song was great. That song, uh, I've never been more scared at the start. Well, I've come close, but and with some of yours, where the start is like, what the hell is going to happen here? Because it was like for a beginning, it was a pretty slow burn before anything really started to happen. But the moment, the exact moment that trilly looped guitar work made its appearance, I was just absolutely drawn in. I couldn't stop listening to the song from that moment on. So that being said, I'm going to go a little bit into further detail from my notes here. So pardon me as I look down and look up. Yeah, slow takeoff, but once that guitar loop came in, I was just completely wooed. It opens up a little bit at different points in the song, but when I say opens up, I mean a crack when you expected a chasm. And I think it was around the 240 mark was the first time I really noticed it. I don't know if it was the first time in the song. It was the first time that I I've only listened to this once, so it was the only time that I really was like, oh, that's interesting. And then even a little bit more at the 430 mark. And by the way, little Diddy, you constantly use that misnomer when you chuck me a 6 to 8 minute song. But I loved it regardless of that. So and
it's almost like it's deliberate.
Yeah. And again, at the 430 mark, while it was a little bit more than the 240 mark, again, a small opening. It wasn't like it did this thing that I expected it to do. The keys seem to become a little bit more evident or prevalent as the song goes on, especially around that marker that I just named, almost like the 2/3 mark of the song is when I start to hear that more. And maybe that's just the amount of time it took my brain to finally give up on that guitar loop to allow other instruments to permeate. But yeah, that was really cool. And I'd say each time the song subtly indicates that it might like culminate or open up into something else, it just transitions back into the norm. Like like it's almost like a tease. And it seems I thought that typically kind of annoys me, right? That kind of gets under my skin. I've said this before in past songs where it's like, do something. You're showing signs of doing something. Just do it. This I liked almost because I think I was able to better tap into what I felt like was the subject matter of the song, where it's this sort of, the narrator seems to fancy himself a bit of a stallion, a bit of an unbridled, untethered soul, a wanderer who ironically doesn't seem to wander based off the lyrics. He's waiting for some mode of transportation to come get him. He finds his ass planted on a rock and just thinking, which is very introspective and not proactive. He talks about using a flashlight and a mirror, I think, or some sort of lighting device in a mirror to signal for someone to almost like come and get him. The speakers pointed up at the sky as if to call on or try to garner someone's attention. Screams of wanting to go somewhere that you're for whatever reason tethered to and unable to divorce yourself from. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. And it reminded me of those musical mechanisms of like almost of showing signs of wanting to do something, but then not doing it. And it kind of mirrored or paralleled the theme of the lyrics. But I've, again, not a lot of time to sit down and really digest this one or cheat and do any research. So I'm going to have you kind of tell me if I'm somewhat close to the mark, on the mark, or out there in left field. So what's the gist here? And tell me about the band and the song. I loved this thing. It was awesome.
Okay. Song itself, I've never really analysed the lyrics at all. I find it to be hypnotic and soothing at the same time, and that's what I use it for. And the words just flow over me. This is a classic, leaning back with the anesthetic of your choice, on a early summer's evening, and just letting it slowly sort of wave over you. It's awesome. It really is.
I believe I said that in the reaction. Sorry to cut you off, John. I think even in the reaction, I said, man, this has got to be one of the chillest vibe songs. And so everything you're saying totally makes sense. I would use it for the same reason if I didn't find myself trying to make sense of why the music was doing its thing and looking for that explanation in the lyrics. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll get into the lyrics in a second and we'll discover it together. So just a bit about the band. There's not a great deal about them. I remember at the time, they made a bit of a splash in the UK. They were formed in, and I'll have to refer to Wiki here, late 90s. So they started in, I think about, 97. And the band was made up of a couple of guys from another band that I really like called Senseless Things. And it may be a tune from them coming to you soon-ish.
Okay.
They were decent, actually, and they never had any success to speak of. And there's a couple of other guys joined them from other bands, which again didn't do anything either. And they were sort of described as an alternative dance band, as it were, almost. Sort of the coattails, because it's 97, the coattails of Britpop and Manchester and stuff like that into their own sort of thing with a bit of club culture. So there's a lot of use of the editing suite in their stuff. But they only put out one album, and it's a really good album called One Love. And they knocked out 3 or so singles from it, this one being the second one that really made people sit up and take notice of it. And then they just kind of went radio silent. So they've never officially split up, but they haven't really done anything since 2000. And members of the band have gone on to do other stuff. Just reading it here. So one of the guys was playing keyboards for The Streets, which is a great band. Another one played drums for Gorillaz, which I know you know them. So that's about it, really, in terms of the band. And they're a bit of an enigma, really. There were sort of also rounds from other bands formed together, did this thing which I think is quite beautiful. And then they kind of, we'll get together in a bit, and never did.
What year? I know you said it's probably easy to extrapolate from what you said, but what year was this song released, this single?
It was released in July 1998. And they got to the dizzying heights of number 60 on the UK charts. So it didn't make a dent on, the popular sort of consciousness in the UK. But I mean, they're all over the music press, because the people who generally got excited about this.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm a little surprised with 98 because it seems more.
It's a few years later than it should be.
Yes. Holy shit. Yeah, that's exactly. I was gonna say, if you told me this came out in 2004 or 5 or something like that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is an odd sounding song. But to come out in 98 and probably have even been penned well before then, or a year before then at least, or something, thinking, wow. It sucks sometimes bands, especially ones that weren't noticed in real time, don't get the credit they deserve for being ahead of their time in whatever way they were after the fact. It's almost like you have to have notoriety in order to get that doff of the cap. But yeah, this definitely seems like 8 years or so ahead of its time. And if you told me that this song, if you had even told me this song came out in 2010 or 11, I'd be like, yep, believe it. Find it easier to believe than 1998. So that's interesting. It's a shame that they didn't do any other work after this if they could put together songs like this, because this is hella interesting.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like a progression from the sort of the Manchester days when, dance music was influencing indie guitar music. And
Mhm.
this is almost the next step. And as you say, it's probably a few years early, and they're clearly their studio work has advanced here in the way they put together this song. So yeah, you're right. It's a shame. I'll tell you what. I'll bring up the lyrics, and we'll go through it and see if we can make sense of it. It's quite. So it starts off with that bit saying, "I don't think we can ask for a more beautiful evening, do you?" And then he starts singing, "I'm sitting in the back room and waiting for some action. If there's a boat or a plane out of here, I'll be leaving. Because nothing keeps me grounded and I'm itching to distraction. If there's a boat or a plane out of here, I'll be leaving." And then it goes, "For oneself, it still saturates my cells and what's left to understand it too, to understand it too. And nothing keeps me grounded and I'm itching to distraction. If there's a boat or a plane out here, I'll be leaving. I'll be here, I'll be so gone," etc. And then it goes into the sort of the verse at the end. "I sat on the rock for most of the night with a mirror and a flashlight, but nothing came. It's all right. I turned the speakers on their sides. I pointed the sound right up at the sky, but nothing came. It's all right. I won't be leaving. Do you have to wait so long? Or can't you cut it up and keep it strong? You know that nothing and no one will ever get a piece of you. For myself, it still saturates my cells and what's left to understand it too, to understand it too, to understand it too. Yes, you understand it too." So there you go.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's no explanation there, but when you say it, I hear more of what I'm further interpreting it the way that I had when I heard it initially, especially like the use of grounded. Like nothing keeps me grounded. Then he's literally asking for an airborne vessel to get him off the ground, or a seafaring vessel to get him off of Earth and into water.
Yeah.
And he's using sound, I guess, projected at the sky to like try to get the attention of an airplane or a god. And then he's also using the light mechanism to like one would signal from a lighthouse at sea. There's all this. I need to get out of here, but no action.
Yeah, it kind of strikes me that it is a self-deluded narrator. And I think, he's saying, "I'll be out here," and it's clearly he's not bloody moving. And I'm wondering if it's to do with introspection or even drug use.
Yeah, well, the one line you said towards the end about cutting it up, that there's something like part of him wants to do all the things that he's like opining and longing for, but then there's this part of him that is probably feels like it's saturated his cells and part of who he is as a person, which is this flawed addict that's perhaps getting in the way of that other part of him. So yeah, it's interesting. I like it a lot, and you know me, if there's some nerdy shit you can latch onto in the lyrics and psychoanalyze, sign me up. So yeah, that was a hell of a ride, man. I really like that song. Easily top 5 John songs.
I will say that the verse when he says, "I sat on the rock for most of the night with a mirror and a flashlight," and then pointing the speakers up as well. To me, it's almost like he's dreaming of a UFO coming to come and take him away. That's what the picture is in my head. Which doesn't mean to say it's right, but it's a nice thought. I mean, this guy, I think the rock as well is probably of his own creating. It's almost like a Greek legend thing that Sisyphus or whatever is sitting on this rock. So it's cool. Yeah, I thought you'd like it, but you never can tell. You serve these things up and see if anyone gobbles them down. But
no, it had enough of its own personality and its own like. I don't know. It's because they're right. It's chill and it has like this whimsical kind of like vibe to it. But then there's this other aspect that we just kind of, unearthed. That is just another one of those. Wait a minute, does that go with that? Do those two things make sense together? But then there's a bit of irony to all that too. So it's like, this is really This is really, it was just a fun song and a good track, man. And I've found that for whatever reasons, the longer ones you give me, the more I take away from them. Or, you know, maybe that's just because of volume or, you know, the amount of time that they have to work with. But yeah, that stuff hits hard, man. I really liked it. Really, really liked it.
I have to tell you this really quickly.
Sure.
I was in the car with my nephew talking, and we put on, I can't even remember what it was. And he goes, 6 minutes, that's a long song. And I said, well, what do you think? You know, you've got some Pink Floyd stuff. He's 13.
Yeah.
You got some Pink Floyd stuff, and there's stuff on there. It's 15 minutes. He goes, yeah, I know. I said, why do you think they do that? And he goes, I think they just don't know when to end. And that was his take. You know, I thought it was hilarious.
They just got lost, and then finally,
Yeah.
through sheer will, they found an end to it somehow.
So the electric meter just ran out. You know, we can put instruments down now. It's just funny. It's a modern take. It's obviously TikTok generation. You know.
Yes.
30
Oh my
seconds and
goodness.
all
Yes,
of-
that's the first thing I thought of when you said that. That instant
Yeah.
gratification generation.
It's
Oh,
just
man.
funny, isn't it? But there you
Yeah.
go. Right. Shall I take us out?
Yeah, sure. Everybody out there into the music, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notifications of whenever we drop a video. And by all means, come back next time because we'd love to see you here. I've been Andy. That's been John. And we'll see you next time, hopefully, on the next episode of Into the Music.